Welcome to hand lettering techniques. We will discuss hand lettering that will help you in the construction of architectural rendering. The objectives of this assignment are hand letter notes and dimensions on technical drawings that are clear and legible. Other things we'll think about are the tools and techniques for lettering. Today I'll introduce the AMES lettering guide, and we will practice with the different kinds of guidelines that we'll have on our worksheets. Use traditional drafting tools to create line sizes. You can make guidelines, hand letter notes, and dimensions on technical drawings that are clear and legible. Here's a nice illustration from an older blueprint. If you look closely, this is drafted with guidelines, and you can see the guidelines are very faint, but up there between the continuous 4 inches note, you can see the guidelines. During the design process, drafters and designers often make sketches which contain handwritten notes and dimensions. It's very important that any hand-lettered text on a drawing be neat and legible. In fact, lettering that is not neat and legible would be considered unprofessional in most engineering and architectural offices, because poor lettering on a design sketch could result in the dimensions or notes being incorrectly depicted on a technical drawing, which could lead to a costly mistake on a construction site or a manufacturing floor. Technical lettering. Therefore, developing good lettering skills is very important to the training of a drafter and designer. But for our uses as rendering, architectural rendering, we also have an additional point where we can add artistic flair. We can document drawings that are meant to be more of visionary images. Good lettering is a skill that is only mastered through practice. Over time, most drafters and designers develop their own unique lettering style. Some drafters, especially in the architectural field, develop a lettering style that could be considered an art form. While you may never develop a style that qualifies as an art, with practice you can develop a style that is neat, legible, and consistent. It's just like learning to type. Practice makes perfect. Here's a full sheet of different lettering examples showing a section with details, looks like a roof, and all the little materials that we did last week kind of come into play here, along with the lettering techniques that we'll learn. And then all we have to do is add more dimensions, arrows, to really document the conditions that exist in a work of architecture. Look closely and you will see the guidelines in most of these drawings, and these may have been done with this little machine, or not a machine, but a tool, the AMES lettering guide, $6 on Amazon. It's a uniquely designed instrument combining a rotating disc with an index rim for adjusting letter height and establishing cross hatch marks, inch and metric line spacing. It looks intimidating. It looks like it might be something to do trigonometry with, but it's really just making lines on paper at an exact size. And here it's shown in its original illustration how to use it. There are practices on YouTube that are very helpful. If you chose to buy this little instrument, here's how it would plug in. You can see it sits on the T-square, or it can just sit on a line if you follow it. I have often found that this is like a tiny ruler you can carry in your pocket, and it's pretty cool to have one. So it'll show that you can set up the line size and with the little dial, and then you can drag the AMES lettering guide out on your T-square to mark that particular line that you need. I want to talk a little bit about the old school, it's actually Strokes method of lettering. They're like chop-like moves that make the whole letter. To do the first number first and follow the stroke of the letter, these are organized by shape and learn to draw. It's really much like calligraphy. If you could master And you can see where the arrows tell you which direction stroke number one goes down. Stroke for an H, stroke one, stroke two, stroke three. It's not how you would normally write letters, when you learn. This is a little bit more of a technical breakdown of each move. Chop, 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 chop. I like this because it kind of reminds me of my cooking. When you're cooking vegetables, you do a lot of chopping of carrots and things, and I think it's very relaxing. But it's a gateway. It's a gateway lettering form to many different types of professions that use lettering for their trades. The hardest ones to master are probably this and sign and the 8. So this is organized. First row is straight chops, so everything that does that goes forward. The second one is more angular moves. The circles are their own thing. And then the combinations. So practice on the sheet that is worksheet number 1 to see if you can get your hand to adapt to this way of making marks. Rather than just keeping this that you feel like you're going back to third grade and working on your letters, keep in mind that this is an amazing technique and it's very ancient. I like to think at Mesopotamian cruciform writing done with wet clay, and they use their instruments and they're making marks like this. Then also in calligraphy, Oriental, Japanese, and Asian, you can see that there is the chopping marks to create a letter, which actually mean this is very simplified. Both of these forms are very ancient and have a lot of meaning. I'm just showing you how you technically would make the mark on some of these. But keep in mind, you are anchoring yourself to the ancients. On our assignment today, we're going to take a look. Once we do the strokes method, we're going to do more of a free form. There's a video of someone using that free form right below this, but you can see we're just going to make an alphabet and we're going to make it in our own style once we have practiced the strokes method and our own handwriting combining together to see what we come up with. The goal is to keep within the lines and to keep straight. That is the goal. This is just a repeat. There's different. You can be very stiff, or you can be a little bit loose, and more of an open style. Like this is not something we learned. This is more like it, but you can start to modify to your own, a blend of your own handwriting. In summary, although traditional drafting tools are rarely used in modern engineering and architectural offices, the same techniques are developed by traditional drafters are still used in creation of drawings with AutoCAD. But there's always this disclaimer, even though we don't use it, we still use it. But it's most important to think the creation of freehand sketches with legible lettering remains an important skill in today's design office. Every professional drafter, designer, whether CAD, traditional, can develop a freestanding lettering style that is neat, uniform, and legible to facilitate communication between designers or between designers and their clients. What I really like about learning the rendering and the hand drafting hand techniques are that you can put together signs and images. I know Starbucks, I was impressed sometimes their chalkboard has a very nice design and drawing on it. Here's what the two lettering exercises will be like. You'll do this one first and then this one is second. Did you know that the serif, which is all these little parts, was developed in ancient Rome? They're known as Republican and Imperial capitals, rustic capitals. So sometimes in your classical architecture, you may want to incorporate some of this type of type style. I don't think you want to sit down and draw each one, although I did have to do this when I went to school, is to make a complete alphabet with attention to detail, much like this at a large scale. Again, this kind of branches off into a thing we'll call rapid viz, which is quick conveyance through type, text, and drawing to quickly get to different kinds of ideas presented quickly and in very unusual ways.